Oh, honey, grab your tea and clutch those pearls because what I'm about to spill is royal-level drama. It all started so innocently. Just a single clip of Meghan Markle glowing and smiling at some royal event, bending down ever so gracefully in front of the cameras. But then, bam! Something weird happened. Her baby bump didn't shift or move like a normal one. No, it folded like a piece of fabric. Let that sink in. The internet went absolutely ballistic. I mean, people zoomed in, slowed it down, played it in reverse, all of it. Within hours, the whispers turned into full-on conspiracy sirens. Was her bump fake? Was it detachable? Twitter exploded. Reddit threads were on fire. YouTube was flooded with "Did you see that?" compilations. It wasn't just the fold that sparked suspicion. It was how that bump seemed to have a mind of its own. Some days it was up high and proud, other days it barely peeked through. Sometimes it looked like it was doing the cha-cha as she walked. And sweetheart, don't even get me started on the videos where it just vanished from certain angles. Vanished. Like it was a Snapchat filter. At first, people laughed it off. Moon bump memes were everywhere. Late night comedians cracked their usual jokes. But then the laughter stopped. The more people looked, the more seriously weird things got. Even the folks who'd always been Team Meghan were like, what's happening? And what did the palace do? Nothing. Zilch. Nada. Radio silence. Meghan? Harry? Not a peep. And that, darling, is when it got juicy. Because silence, that's when people start digging. So let's rewind. Meghan announced her pregnancy during a royal tour. The timing? Chef's kiss. Picture perfect for the press. But those eagle-eyed royal watchers weren't fooled. They compared the bump from day to day, and let's just say, something didn't sit right. One day, she looked 9 months in. The next, she could have been at a fancy brunch, no baby in sight. And who knows all the royal pregnancy protocols better than anyone? That's right, Kate Middleton, our Duchess of doing everything right. She had 3 royal babies and followed every rule to the letter. Announcements, doctors, hospital steps, camera flashes, all of it. But Meghan? She threw that entire handbook out the palace window. Anything great after that? But Elizabeth and Riley stayed with her. When she moved to Evanbrook, they opted for the situation where, the scheduled and the slotty are on the ride double tax. Martin, I'm taking notes, but Elizabeth, what had you noticed, Melvin? Royal births are practically military operations, not in a jealous sister-in-law way. No, more like a seasoned pro, spotting something off. Meghan kept touching her bump constantly, even during interviews, both hands mid-sentence, adjusting it like it might fall off. It wasn't a mom's gentle touch. It was like she was trying to hold it in place. Inside the palace, the staff, the trusted, old-school, stiff upper-lip crew started whispering. Things weren't adding up. Meetings missed, appearances canceled, all tied to this so-called pregnancy. And this wasn't the rookie team. These were people who'd seen it all. They knew the royal rhythms like the back of their hands. And suddenly, they were uneasy. Prince William at first dismissed it, thought it was just the tabloids being tabloids. But then the oddities began to stack like teacups at high tea. They started piecing it all together, the photos, the briefings, the timelines. And as a future king, William knew the most important rule. If you don't control the story controls you. Then the footage surfaced. Private, shaky clips showing Meghan and her bump behaving bizarrely. Some clips were grainy. Others were too perfect. Some said they were leaked by frustrated insiders who'd had enough. Regardless of their origin, the palace was officially rattled. And that's when it happened. William sat down with Kate. No staff, no security, just them and the silent breakfast table. He looked up from his phone, headlines blaring across the screen, and said, "It doesn't make sense." Kate didn't need more. She'd been watching too. But here's where it goes from intriguing to explosive. It wasn't just the bump, it was the whispers inside palace walls. Loyal aides, the kind who never gossiped, began to speak carefully. One woman, a senior aide, quietly mentioned that Meghan's appointments were off. Some meetings canceled last second, no records logged, no doctors signing off like usual. Kate? She didn't jump to conclusions. She started doing what she does best, research. She began comparing Meghan's bump pics, event by event, side by side. And oh my God, the inconsistencies were wild. Some days the bump looked like she was ready to pop. Others, like she was months away. No pattern, no logic. And just when things couldn't get weirder, Meghan posted that video. You remember the one, her in a hospital gown, dancing. It was supposed to be light and fun, but the internet tore it apart. People zoomed in again, and the comments were brutal. No way a heavily pregnant woman moves like that, they said. That bump's too stiff, too bouncy, too weird. William was furious, not at the internet, at the risk. This wasn't about scandal anymore. It was about the monarchy. If any of this turned out to be fake, the whole institution could crumble. He called in 2 senior royal advisors, the old guard, sat them down and asked, "Do you think we're being lied to?" They didn't say yes, but they didn't say no either. So after all the eerie silences, the strange footage, the canceled appointments, and the royal whispers, Kate had enough. This wasn't about gossip anymore. This was about truth. And being the calm, composed, graceful queen-in-waiting that she is, she decided to do the unthinkable. She confronted Meghan. Yes, you heard me right. No cameras, no staff, just 2 duchesses alone behind palace walls. It wasn't a war cry. It was concern. Kate just wanted answers. She asked about the bump, the different doctors, the weirdly fluctuating due dates, the viral videos. She didn't yell. She wasn't cruel. She was direct and deeply disturbed. And how did Meghan react? Oh, honey, not well. Not at all. She felt blindsided, accused, attacked. The grace was gone. She snapped. Accused Kate of judgment. Said she felt cornered, hurt, misunderstood. And before anyone could take a breath, in walked Prince Harry. And that's when everything exploded. Voices were raised, defenses were thrown up like castle walls. The room, once quiet, turned into a battlefield. Meghan felt betrayed. Harry felt protective. Kate stood her ground. And from that one private meeting, an entire royal relationship began to fracture. From that day on, things were never the same. Meghan and Harry didn't just withdraw emotionally, they began pulling away entirely. Private dinners? Ignored. Group chats left on read. Family events? Awkward. Cold, distant, the once warm, seemingly modern Fab Four, William, Kate, Harry, and Meghan, crumbled overnight. The smiles got stiffer, the photos became rare, and the tension, you could cut it with a gold-plated Buckingham butter knife. Then came the bombshell that hit the world like a royal earthquake. Meghan and Harry were stepping back from royal duties. Publicly, it sounded progressive, like a modern couple choosing freedom. Privately, it felt like an escape, one that had been brewing behind palace doors for months, maybe even longer. Inside the palace, absolute chaos. Senior staff were told to stay professional, smile, wave, say nothing. But let me tell you, sweetheart, no amount of decorum could hide the ice in the air. Then the real tea started to spill. Sources inside the palace quietly admitted something huge. The royal medical team, the one that always oversees pregnancies, had never examined Meghan. Not once. No checkups, no official records. Nothing. It was like her pregnancy existed outside the system in a royal vacuum. And that was unprecedented. Even the Queen had followed the proper protocol back in her day. So why didn't Meghan? Then came the kicker. Internal footage, not leaked, not published, just quietly reviewed by a few tight-lipped security personnel. Clips showed Meghan walking through palace halls, subtly adjusting something beneath her dress. In another, she handed what looked like a soft bundle to an aide before entering a room. Nothing was explicit, but for the people who saw it, it was enough. Enough to raise every red flag in Buckingham. By the time Meghan and Harry moved to the US, the whispers had become screams. Online sleuths were on the case 24/7. They compared bump photos frame by frame, analyzed shadows, seam lines, even Meghan's hand placement. Reddit, Twitter, Instagram lit up. Theories ranged from vanity to surrogacy to full-on baby hoax. People weren't just suspicious, they were convinced. Even the term phantom bump took on a life of its own. It wasn't just a meme anymore, it was a movement. But William and Kate, they said nothing. Not one public word, not a press leak, not a slip, nothing. Because for them, silence was power and protection. They weren't just shielding themselves from the circus, they were shielding the crown. Behind closed doors, though, William had reached his limit. He didn't want to be in the tabloids, he didn't want a headline war, but he knew the truth mattered. He told his inner circle that this wasn't about embarrassment. It was about the monarchy's survival. If any part of Meghan's pregnancy, the bump, the doctors, the timeline, was exaggerated or fake, they could destroy the royal family's reputation for generations. Kate focused on damage much control, kept her attention on their children, on royal duties, on staying impeccable. But even she couldn't ignore the way everything had changed. Because this wasn't just a scandal, it was a fracture in trust, one that may never fully heal. In the end, Meghan gave birth, the photos were released, the family smiled for the cameras, but the questions? They never left. There was no hospital photo op, no proud moment on the steps like with Kate, no doctors' statements, no confirmations from palace staff. Just a few carefully curated images and a deafening silence. People still wonder, was it real? Was it exaggerated? Was it a cover-up, vanity, privacy, or something so much deeper, darker? A secret the palace couldn't survive if revealed. William and Kate, they continue to walk with grace, with duty, with stoic smiles that say more than words ever could. But behind those polished appearances is a truth no one dares say out loud. Some stories don't end, darling. They just echo through time. And this one, it's still echoing through every corridor of the palace.